everyone, and welcome to a brand new podcast. Welcome to Starting Lineups. I am your host, Andy Davies, and this podcast will be all about trying to combine two teams and making an ultimate starting 11. Sometimes current teams, sometimes all-time teams, mostly club level, maybe some international in the major tournaments. But we are going to do, hopefully, this podcast for a while, and this will be a chance to bring football fans together and try and combine teams based on games that are coming up. And this episode, for episode 1, we're going to be looking at the FA Cup final between Chelsea and Man City. And this episode is combining an all-time Man City and Chelsea 11. Bit of backstory. As you can see behind me, I'm a Liverpool fan. From Wales, I know, not local team. I'm ready for the hate I'm going to get by not being a local fan, considering right now I live 40-minute walk from the Cardiff Stadium, but as a kid where I grew up, there was no local team. Well, there was, but it's like you can't just walk to the stadium. So that's my story, and I have got family from Liverpool. My great-grandparents were from the Wirral, and my great-granddad played for Everton in the 1930s. So I like to think I've got a little bit of family history behind Liverpool, and also my girlfriend's from St Helens, and her dad's got a Liverpool season ticket. So it does run in the family, even though that's not why I support them. Just got passed down through my family, through my dad. But yeah, that is my story. Being a fan of football since 2002. My first memories are basically the World Cup in 2002. Ronaldo sort of winning that World Cup, the build up to that. The school, showing World Cup games. I think everyone seemed to have the same story about everyone watching that Brazil game in their I can't think what it's called now, the area in school, like the main area where you have your assembly hall. Yeah, I think that's my first memories of football was sort of, watching our World Cup, watching England, Brazil in the assembly hall and all the rest of that tournament. So, yeah, that's my real first memory. Then start watching football. I remember seeing Danny Murphy score winners at Old Trafford, El Hadj Diouf alienate the entire fan base, and Steven Gerrard become my all-time favourite player. But let's go on to the episode, and enough about me. Let's head on to our guest. He is a well-known content creator, well-known Chelsea fan on the show today, making his, what is the first appearance, the debut appearance on the debut show. It's Ian, otherwise known as Craigo28.
How are we doing? How are things?
Yeah, good. Looking forward to this final, and great to have you on. You are making the honour of having the first ever appearance on this podcast. Yeah, I've had you on before for other podcasts. I had a Miami Dolphins podcast at one point through both our fandoms of the Dolphins. You came on that. I've been following your work for years and years, even before we linked up on DMs. So, good to have you on.
Thank you very much, man. Yeah, the Dolphins is a weird one to talk about at the moment, so I think we'll skip past that one because I think we all know what we're going to be for the rest of that season. But yes, we'll carry on through. It's a shared pain.
Yeah, literally. I mentioned that about Liverpool. No one can call me a glory hunter with Liverpool. Absolutely no one can sit down and call me with the Dolphins. No chance. I've seen the Eagles have more playoff wins than we've had playoff appearances in my lifetime, just in that one season a couple of years ago. But anyway, moving on to this game, and of course you are a Chelsea fan, and they may well guess from your accent, you sound like you're from the area. I don't actually know where you're from, but
yeah, I'm Chelsea? West London. I am West London. I am as Chelsea as you can get. Yeah.
Right. So we're going to do position by position now. I don't know whether you've gone for formation-wise 4-3-3, 4-4-2. I've gone for a 4-4-2 diamond. It'll make sense.
Okay, yeah, that works. I can work with that. Yeah, that makes sense. I like that.
So we're going to try and go position by position and try and create our all-time combined 11. So, of course, this is building up to the FA Cup final. Chelsea against Man City. Both teams beating lower opposition to get there. Chelsea beating Leeds 1-0 at Wembley, a game you were at. And also City somewhat narrowly beating Southampton, which I don't think anyone expected when the game started. So meeting at Wembley. I believe this is the first ever FA Cup final between the two teams. They met in loads of FA Cup semi-finals and quarter-finals and Community Shields, but I don't believe, I could be wrong, maybe in the old days.
I think you're right. I can remember semi-finals in years gone by at Wembley, but I can't remember anything more. So, I think this is the first ever FA Cup final between the pair of us. Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, because I can't think when Chelsea were good when Mourinho came in, Man City weren't doing much.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, it's kind of flipped a little bit in recent years. But I kind of think, would there be one in the 70s? I'll look it
No,
up. And then I'll
I
try
think
and...
we played Leeds. I don't think we made many more after that. We weren't great in the 70s. We just started it very well.
Man City and Chelsea ever played in a FA Cup final before 2026?
I think the women's
No,
team
never.
have. Yeah, the
Um,
women's team maybe, but I don't. Yeah, never the men's.
They've met in a League Cup final, most famously in
Yes.
2019. What we could probably call a Kepa final for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I got Hazard's shirt from that game.
What, from the stadium?
Yep, I was sitting row one behind the goal where the penalties were taken. Yeah, and Hazard came up after the game and threw his shirt into the crowd. I was row one and 6'1". I mean, I weren't not catching it, was I? So yeah, I'll take it. If anyone asks, he gave it to me personally, but I mean, no, it was just big old reach. That's what I was doing. Got it.
Yeah, that's all that matters. That is all that matters at the end of the day. Right,
100%.
let's start with goalkeeper. I'll let you go first, as you are the guest. I kind of feel like there's only maybe two or three contenders, but who are you picking in goal?
There's one contender. There is absolutely one contender. I mean, because I think he is the greatest to ever play, and it's Petr Cech. I mean, you think about the legendary status that he has, and what he achieved in football, and a lot of people forget about that massive injury that he had that could have ended his career very, very quickly. That start of Petr Cech's Chelsea career was unbelievable. In the end, I mean, the legacy speaks for itself, but for me, I don't think there's many better that have ever graced the Premier League than Petr Cech, and yeah, he has to be my suggestion. I mean, you see even now all the Arsenal fans banging on about how good the defence is. They have never kept 20 clean sheets or 24 clean sheets, sorry, in a season, and Petr Cech is the goalkeeper that has that award. So yeah, he is the best by a mile for me in a Chelsea shirt. You are right, Courtois might have been up there in terms of quality, but longevity, I've got to go Petr Cech.
Yeah, that's who I've gone with as well. I mean, you can look at Edison, you can look at. I mean, that's probably it, to be fair. But I think there's no comparison.
Joe Hart for what
Yeah,
he did
Joe
at City,
Hart.
you could give an honourable mention, but
Mm.
I think when you're talking that longevity, there's levels, and I just think that Cech, for most, would lose. Would beat them. Most would lose out to Petr Cech in this regard. So I think it's probably the safest choice, I think, and I think it's the best choice. But Edison for what he did and different type of goalkeeper. In terms of playing with his feet, the assists that he got that a lot of people don't seem to, massively remember. You go, oh, that was good, but actually, that really does put your foot on the, team on the front foot. And even those assists, 4 or 5, whatever it was, but how many balls did he ping over the top that were key passes and making goals? Got to give credit where it's due, but again, I think main job of a goalkeeper, keep the ball out of the net, and I don't think there's many better than Petr Cech.
I agree. I've got Cech as well. I think there's a few things I kind of had reasons why Cech. I think firstly, I think Cech has always been in that conversation of top 3, top 5 goalkeepers in Premier League history. I'm not sure Edison ever has been, and I don't think he's ever really. Maybe apart from one year being the best goalkeeper in the league, was I think Petr Cech for a good few years, probably until Van der Sar came about, was the unanimous best goalkeeper in the league. And that that 04-05 season, was it 15 goals conceded all year?
Yeah, it's mental when you think about it like that. I mean, it literally, I think it was only one game we conceded twice. That's incredible.
Yeah, and wasn't one of them? Was one of them against Birmingham when you'd already secured the league, or was that just before you secured the league?
That is really testing my mind now. I cannot remember, but I do have a recollection of when we had already won the league, which is when one of the goals came in. Who it was against, I could not tell you, but there is a recollection, yeah, of something like that.
Yeah, and I think at that point, considering I think the fact that I think when a team starts conceding goals after a league's won, you can sort of let it go by, and I
Meh.
think as well, Mourinho had a great point that he's won them 50. I think it was either that year or the year later that he said that Czech's won us about 15 points in the season, and he was unbelievable. Even after the injury with Stephen Hunt, the incident there, I think he was still very good. I think he was at his best, probably at his all-time peak before that injury against Reading, but certainly, pretty much until maybe the last year, still mostly error-free. Certainly, Chelsea. I remember there was a mistake in the Euros, but I can't remember many mistakes Czech made. Whereas I think other goalkeepers, I think Ederson was very good. But I think Czech is just at levels above, and also as a Chelsea fan, you might argue he played badly for Arsenal, so maybe he
absolute legend in my eyes. I mean, he won us that final in Baku. I'm joking, but yeah, he is different gear. But one thing I will say again, like the goalkeepers that we're talking about here, and about the players that we're also going to talk about for the rest of this. It's about units as well, and that 04-05 team, with the amount of shots that were conceded by Chelsea being so few, it's no surprise that Petr Cech kept the clean sheets that he did. And I think as we sort of move into this sort of defensive unit, you're going to start seeing a lot of those players start to sort of continue, and then you realise, yes, Petr Cech was very good, and he definitely, for me, deserves his place in this team. But when you look at that back four in front of him as well, it's no surprise that it was 15 goals conceded, because John Terry would have clattered you, Carvalho would have clattered you, Ashley Cole would have... Well, he wasn't even there at the time, it got better. Gallas would have clattered you, Ferreira, whoever would have clattered you. And that was what made Chelsea such a success, and that's what we're missing now, is people that are going to go through you and make it really difficult to play against. And Petr Cech, with that back line in front of him, was the most difficult goalkeeper to go up against, I think, in the Premier League.
Yeah, he was a monster. I think, going by trophies, I don't think trophies are necessarily everything. I think, sometimes a player can win a lot of trophies. I always think, Nani's won double the amount of Premier Leagues as Mo Salah, but we all know Salah's a better player.
Yeah, I completely agree.
But he has won 4 FA Cups with Chelsea. He won 4 English League titles, a Champions League, a Europa League. And yeah, just the trophies were there as well. And to be part of, the best defensive unit in Premier League history, I think absolutely, he is the correct choice to be in goal. We'll move on to the back four though, and should we get the easy one out of the way? Ashley Cole at left back.
Yeah, he's got to be. I don't think anyone comes even close. I think if Roberto Carlos was going to be in the Premier League football for either Chelsea or Man City, we'd have a debate. But other than that, I think it's got to be Ashley Cole. He's one of the best left backs we've ever seen, isn't he?
Yeah, I'd say Premier League wise, absolutely. I think for me personally, he is. I think the gap between Cole and Robertson and Evra is way bigger than it is between those two players, Evra and Robertson. I don't believe. I mean, Dennis Irwin, before my time, but I still watched enough Premier League year to know how good he was. People will say him as well. A lot of Man U fans will point towards Dennis Irwin. But I just think Ashley Cole, the fact that one of the best players of all time, Cristiano Ronaldo, called it his toughest opponent, and I think that says a lot.
That says a lot. That says everything you need to know. There's respect elsewhere, but I think if you're talking left backs, it's Ashley Cole, surely.
Do you worry, especially as a Chelsea fan, do you worry that the way it's going with stats and all that, and the way fullbacks are now done, do you worry that maybe in 20 years' time, people are going to disregard Cole because he didn't get the assists and goals that maybe Trent, Robertson, or any modern-day fullback gets these days? Or do you think his class and his excellence will still be known and still talked about in years gone by? Or do you worry that that could be a thing with how stats has gone these days, how stats heavy?
I wouldn't say worry, but I mean, now that you've said it, I mean, it definitely is an argument of something to to think about. But I think I mean, as you said there with Irwin and with other players that we've seen it in years gone by, there is not the evidence that Johan Cruyff is one of the best footballers that's ever played the game. There's not like all the stats and all the all the data and all these different things. But if you watch him, he passes the eye test. And I think that's a lot of football fans just have. You have this idea, I like them, I like what they do. And I think someone like Ashley Cole, when you are a defender, I feel like he's going to sort of get put with, that sort of, I'm not saying he's in the same caliber, but in that sort of like Maldini, John Terry, Cannavaro, take your pick of who else you sort of want. That they're good. you know that they're good. And although you haven't necessarily seen it, it's the reputation that precedes them. And I don't think that Ashley Cole's reputation will go anywhere. And I think it's because a lot of people like you and me and people that are older than us as well have seen it. And I think that the stories and the tales and, how good he is will live on even further. I think maybe in attacking positions, you could argue that potentially that might, start to disappear. But I think when it comes to defending, I think I played up front. So, I mean, I've always got a good sort of argument for this. I will always know who a good defender is because I know it's the sort of person that I wouldn't want to go up against. So that's the way I would look at it. And I think anyone, if you see even clips of Ashley Cole and see the crunching tackles and the ability that he had, and also who he took down as well. We said Ronaldo there, but I mean, we've had some good players in the Premier League, across the years. He had them on lock pretty much for a large chunk of it. And yes, okay, Salah and the likes are, newer age footballers, and there'll probably be a younger set of fans. But then that's a challenge for those younger set of fans. If you really love your football, go and watch those clips, go and see who the best of all time are. And I think again, if you've got that passion and that eye for talent as a football guy, I think you'll be absolutely fine. And I think Ashley Cole for me is always going to remain as, one of the best Premier League left backs. Whether other people go elsewhere, and Robertson again, I think was fantastic for Liverpool when he was at his peak. I think when you go and see those levels, there will be people that will come close. But I think if anyone made a top three of left backs in the Premier League, I think anyone is stupid to not have Ashley Cole in it. You might have little favourites here and there. You might have, Robertson was more attacking minded, so I might put him ahead of him. Depends on what you like, but I think anyone would be wrong to not have Ashley Cole in a three, and I think that's even for years to come as well. There's not many that are out there at the moment in the Premier League that are beating Ashley Cole. So that position of left back in the best Premier League team of all time is still his, and it's his to lose until someone changes the game, and I don't think they will. So yeah, I think Ashley Cole will be remembered, but I do agree. I don't think it'll be as much as people should, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you're bang on right about not having watched players. Ivy Beckenbauer is one of the best ever defenders of all time. Never seen him play.
Never watched him play. Never watched him.
I know for what I've read and what I've seen and what he's done in his career, and I know for well he's one of the best ever. Same as like people like Baresi, and probably missed the peak of Maldini's years, but I still remember Champions League with AC Milan, both winning and losing European Cups. So, I think
it's the reputation that precedes them, and Ashley Cole has worked his absolute backside off to get that reputation, as has Robertson, as will many other players. But that is his, surely.
Yeah, I think personally, it's really between him and Maldini for the best ever of all time. Carlos, I think Carlos.
That was the other one I would throw in. Yeah.
I think those three, are the three that I think we look at, and I think you could have them 1, 2, 3, whatever order. I'd have it personally: Maldini, Cole, Maldini, Cole, Carlos.
But, I would be the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's probably the easiest one to call. Ashley Cole at left back. We'll go on to the two centre backs.
One of these is very easy, Andy. Before we go any further, it's very easy. Before we go any further,
I think this is quite easy personally for me. You might think differently on the other centre back, but for me, John Terry has to be in. John Terry for me is the second best centre back of all time. I thought he was the best centre back of all time until maybe I saw Van Dijk in his prime. But certainly, I was always more of a Terry man than a Ferdinand man. I always thought he was just a gladiator. I always think
and also as well, left-footed, really, really important. He could play off of both feet, but he was a left-footed centre-back as well, which in the modern-day game is everything, absolutely everything. I mean, the amount of money that gets spent to get a left-footed centre-back. Chelsea have brought 5 and they haven't worked, but it's the point. Like, if you have that position as a left-footed centre-back locked down for as many years as he did at club level, and again, let's be honest, should have done more, but at international level as well. I mean, that's different levels, isn't it? It's different levels. He's the hardest working bloke I think I've ever potentially seen on a football pitch. One of the smarter people as well. But smart in terms of a way to get your mentality going, to get your team going, to go and win games. he was a warrior and an animal and just someone that you wanted to follow. I mean, Chelsea fans call him captain, leader, legend for a reason. And I think that he's absolutely excellent for that. So, yeah, for me, I think he has to be in this team. And I think anyone else that disagrees probably needs to turn off this video. Don't, because we want to keep the review retention. But I think it's left-footed centre back. I think it has to be John Terry, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's many things I could say about him. I mean, he was the guy that albeit I was probably a bit of a bench warmer in my school team at football, I always looked at as someone who played centre back. I always looked at him as sort of a guy I watched to sort of try and play like, because I thought if there's anyone I would argue maybe football history, certainly Premier League history, you want to kind of play football for you, to save you, or if they're gonna if you want a footballer to go to war for you, I think it's him or Roy Keane. And I think them two, for me, are the best two captains in Premier League history. And I just think he was so good at reading the game. And I think his passing was actually very underrated. I don't think people realise just how good he was.
What a range of passing as well. I mean, I've seen him ping 70-yard balls over the top. I'm pretty sure it was a charity game, so we'll take it with a pinch of salt. But I'm pretty sure it was, I want to say it was at Celtic Park. He shot from inside his own half and only just missed. Like, only just. Again, like, it's circumstantial and whatever, but you're thinking that's towards the end of his career, on his left foot, in his own half. Give that 5 years, 10 years earlier to him. Not saying he's going to score, but if you want to ping it over to your right winger, someone like Iron Robin, Joe Cole, take your pick of whoever, I mean, that changes a game. Same thing we were saying about Edison. You can put your team on the front foot with one pass. John Terry, again, good technical footballer, but the range of passing was so good as well.
It really was. And I think that's kind of an era where passing centre backs weren't really a thing. I mean, I saw a stat on Sky Sports News Saturday night. The top 5 most passes completed in the current season are all defenders. But back then,
you didn't want them to have the ball. Yeah, you did not want your back four to have the ball. It was oh god, the back four have got it. Okay, well, let's try and get up there. No, like now it's essential part of the game, and I think sort of what I was saying about Ashley Cole. I think that good defenders, especially defenders, they stand the test of time. And I think someone like Maldini, someone like Ashley Cole, someone like John Terry, someone like Rio, someone like the other centre back who I won't mention yet because we won't ruin it, but again, probably him as well. They could all play across any generation and any era because you can see the talent and the quality, and the fundamentals of football don't change. I just think it's a real test and a real testament to the quality that is in the Premier League. And let's be honest, defenders wise, there's been some really, really good names down in the Premier League across the 30 years that it's been going. But yeah, I think that John Terry is. I think John Terry is in top 5 of that list for everyone. For me, I'm biased. He's my top defender ever, probably, I would say, from a selfish Chelsea point of view. But that is backed up by what you've seen as well. It's not just I like him because he's in there. Like, you look at the clips individually and everyone would be impressed.
And I think the one kind of image I have of him that really defines kind of defender he was, if you look at a particular Warrior kind of player, was that League Cup final.
I knew you were gonna say that. Yeah, and it's true. And the other one that reminds me as well is I might get the Royal Cut wrong. I'm pretty sure it was 2010 when we were pretty much already out. But he was diving along the floor like some sort of penguin because there was a ball that was coming down low, and it was like, okay, he didn't get anywhere near it, but it was like the attempt to then go and put your head in that gap says a lot. And it doesn't care about how you do it or why you do it, what you look like doing it. It's just matter about you do it. And that's the sort of thing. He just was a warrior because you're like, what the hell was he doing down there? You start thinking about the context. That could be someone size 9 going on his head. How could you not want to follow that? Someone goes, no, I'm going to literally give my all. And that final as well, similar thing what we said about Petr Cech. John Terry could have gone on to be even more if the head injury hadn't have ever happened. And again, that was a lot smaller than Petr Cech's was, but that delayed probably a year, probably 9 months to a year of his career. What might he have gone on to become? Because I mean, he was still growing and developing at that time. If there would have been some big moment, Chelsea would have come in and done something. Who knows? It might have looked really, really different. But John Terry is just levels for me above most, probably all of them.
Yeah, I'd agree. There's not many better than Terry, in my opinion. Other centre back, I think there's only really, I think personally there's only two candidates, but I think there's only really one. I think the other one really you could look at as a partnership for Terry, but I think I'd go for someone else. I think you kind of alluded to it before. Who is your second choice for this centre back?
Well, from a Chelsea point of view, the best defenders, central defenders that we have had in the Premier League era, for me, are John Terry, Thiago Silva, but we never got the full works of Thiago Silva. We got the back end, and that still was so class. You could argue people like David Luiz and Gary Cahill potentially. But then you've got to think about Man City players in this. You have to think about Man City players. And when I think about Man City defenders, there's one that comes to my mind. Maybe you throw Ruben Diaz in that mix of because what he has done. I know he's still current, but again, like the levels that he has shown, clearly a great footballer. But I think it's got to be Vincent Company, hasn't it? I mean, anything that John Terry did in terms of a team aspect, Vincent Company has also done, bar win a Champions League. I think he'd already gone by that point. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
But yeah, no, he definitely was. But yeah, other than that, I mean, everything that John Terry did, Company has done, and I think that they're similar players in certain ways. In terms of Company was a good technical baller as well. I mean, I know people say it was a lucky hit, that goal against Leicester, but I mean, like, you still have to strike a ball well, and all he has essentially done there when shooting from 30 yards out or 40 yards out, whatever the hell it was, is he has tried to pass it into the top corner the best way that he possibly could. And that is exactly what he's done. Good technical footballer. And he was a nightmare to go around. And I remember for years thinking, I mean, maybe a little bit naive because I was younger at the time, but everyone was talking about how good Company was and this was going on, that was going on when they were in that title winning team and everything. And I was just like, just run it. Like, no one ever runs it. Just run it. Like, someone's got to give it a go and, try and see what comes from it. Just try and go for him. But it doesn't happen because he's so good and he'll get a tackle in and he's such a unit and a physical presence that if you start running at him, you go, sod this, I'm off, I'm going to go elsewhere. Let's play the ball wide and whip it in behind you maybe because I'm not getting through there. And although I think, again, John Terry seen clips over and over again, last ditch tackles and crunching tackles, you've seen it with Company as well. But I think, again, like, the reputation and the aura that must come from having players literally go, no, we're getting it wide. We are avoiding you at all costs. That's the sort of thing I would want from my centre backs. Forget about Chelsea, Man City. I think for me, if you're talking about all-time Premier League team or all-time football team, I'd want those characteristics as my back too. The fact we've got John Terry and Vincent Company, again, who have both done incredible feats for their club. I think it's an absolute no-brainer. It has to be those two. Again, good players for Chelsea, some good players for Manchester City as well. But there's a level at Man City, and there's that some bloke called Vincent Company. For me, I could even argue, and I won't, but if someone argued he is the greatest Man City player of all time, I would hear you out as to why. I probably wouldn't, but I would at least hear out the conversation.
Yeah, I think maybe one of the most influential and important players. I think I look at, for me personally, the best two players I think in their history, certainly in Premier League history. I might mention later on in this video, but certainly.
The two I'm thinking of are definitely going in this team.
Yeah, you think about like £8 million or £8.5 million from Hamburg before the money came in as well. I believe it was before the money came in, but
I think it was before they started splashing the cash big time. I think the money was in, but I think it was still a smart transfer rather than just throw the money at it transfer.
Yeah. I just remember like you think about now. I will say he has got one of the most comical own goals in Premier League history. That one against
top tier. I mean, he would never do it again in a month of Sundays ever. But brilliant goal. Just didn't mean it.
I think as well the fact that I think there's two goals I think were very crucial for Man City. I think the goal against Man U in 2011-12 when they came back from 8 points behind in the league table. That was a goal that sort of leveled things and gave them the upper hand. Really important, not won a league before. The first one's always the hardest to win, and the fact that he got the goal in a crucial game, in a crucial match, which had a big part in the end of the season against your local rivals. And then you mentioned that goal against Leicester. You could argue for the importance, the kind of goal it was, who scored the goal. Maybe one of the best ever goals in Premier League history for the importance and the context and just kind of. I think there are better. I think there are better.
I think Man City fans will say that there is one in particular that will stand out. But again, like what you're saying about that, the game against Man United, that moment for that little Argentinian fella up front don't happen unless Vincent Kompany puts the ball in the back of the net weeks beforehand. It's not even close. It's not even a thought. And I mean, I know he's going to come up later on in this conversation, but Drogba was literally Mr. Cup final. Like, he was Chelsea's answer to all their prayers. He was the big game player. I will speak about him later on with such high regard in terms of that. If a defender's done it twice, you have to give credit where it's due. Like, you have to do it because they don't get 15, 16 opportunities to do it like Drogba has had throughout his career, scoring these big goals. He's pretty much had 2 or 3 and he has taken 2 of them. Fair play, son. Like, again, the context matters, but big goal, big player, big influence, big unit. Like, he has to be in. He's just big. Every time about him is big time. I did want to say Big Ed then, but I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go too harsh. But yeah, it's full of knowledge. It's full of knowledge. But yeah, he is. I mean, he's just big time for me. Those two as a centre back pairing, I don't think anyone would beat them. To be honest with you, if they actually played together, I would hate to play against that.
Yeah, I mean, is there maybe an argument that maybe they're too similar? Could you maybe? I think the nearest one to them is probably Carvalho. I wouldn't put David Luiz anywhere near this kind of conversation.
Yeah, David Luiz had moments rather than consistent quality, and I would argue that even Carvalho, we didn't get him for as long as maybe we would have liked. We didn't necessarily get the best of Carvalho either. We had some really good bits, but I mean, we didn't get the proper peak that some people will argue maybe we did, but again, that's subjective. But I just think if Carvalho and Terry had been a unit for 7, 8, 9 years and went on to do as much as they've done and won trophies the same way that that Kompany has, then I'd probably argue that maybe he deserves a shout. But I think Kompany needs to go in this team just because he was that defensive line for Man City. Fill in other players here and there, but it all run through him. How high you were going, how low you were going, if you were going forward, if you were trying to keep the ball, it all had to go through Vincent Kompany. So yeah, fair play. Maybe they're a bit similar, but I think as a centre forward, I wouldn't want to play against them. I wouldn't want to play against that.
Well, we've got our 3 of our back 4 and goalkeeper in. So we've got left back, centre back, goalkeeper. Right now, it's all been very much in unison, same picks. But this one could be our first one where we disagree. Right back. Now, I think there's 2 clear candidates for this. I think it's Kyle Walker and Ivanovic. I might be missing someone completely obvious, but I kind of feel like Pereira's probably an outside shout. But I just feel like these 2 are the 2 standout right backs in these 2 teams' history.
So for me, if I was making this team as of right now, I have to say I think that the best right back out of the ones that you've named and the one other that you've missed, which I'll come on to in a minute, but I think it's Kyle Walker. I think, again, when you've done it for the length of time that he has and the ability to go forward, absolutely incredible. The reason why is because Ivanovic was very, very good at Chelsea. Signed him as a centre back. He moved to right back. He was so good. So good at Chelsea. But Kyle Walker is very obviously the best right back that Man City have ever had. If you were to throw out the argument that Azpilicueta was better than Ivanovic, a lot of Chelsea fans would go, that's not ridiculous as a shout. And I think that it's a testament to the 2 of them in terms of Azpilicueta and Ivanovic, because they clearly are those levels, and that's the standard that Chelsea have set at right back anyway. But I think Carl Walker literally reinvented parts of that Man City team. And even when he played for England, he was great at points. And obviously, when he was at Spurs, even before that, he showed real promise. But promise has to take the step. And that step was taken when he was at Man City. Maybe he's a product of circumstance and situation because of the fact that Pep's there. Maybe it would be very different if it was a different manager. Who knows? But I think that it has to be Carl Walker here, and I think that it's a massive, massive testament to him that you're getting Azpilicueta and Ivanovic both coming in. Both of them very worthy opponents to try and beat him as a one-on-one argument. But if they can't beat themselves, clear cut beat themselves, I think you have to give it to the one that's consistently absolutely excellent. There'll be Chelsea fans that will be annoyed by that, but Carl Walker is the right answer here, 100%.
Yeah, that's where I was going. I thought you were going to go Chelsea route, but Walker was my pick as well. I just think when someone's got the ability and also the trophies. Now, I view ability more than trophies when it comes.
Yeah, I'm the same as you, 100%.
Game, but when it comes to Walker, yeah, he had both. Amazing player, could do both. Obviously, not got the stats of some fullbacks, but he still chipped in with the old goal and assist, and defensively he was amazing, and has a trophies. And I always remember, I think you can make arguments when he's at his best, but I always remember that run to the Champions League final when they won it. I remember him against Real Madrid on the route where he was just unbelievable, and you just couldn't get past him. And I think it was Madrid. There was a game I can't think who it was against or what round it was in a knockout. But
I'm pretty sure you're right. I'm pretty sure he shut down Vinicius Junior. I think he was pretty much all over him.
Yeah. That was. I remember him. Just that season was incredible, and I think you think about. Comes in, makes immediate impact, a big part of their Centurion season, and just goes on and wins. And you could make some debate about maybe his personality off the pitch, but on the pitch, what a player! And I kind of feel like I love Ivanovic. I really enjoyed watching him play, and I think really underrated. And I think Azpilicueta, same thing, or Dave as we like to call him.
Dave, gotta love Dave.
What a boy! I actually saw his shirt the other day. I went for a Sevilla stadium tour in Seville, and they went go through the dressing room and came across his shirt.
Yeah,
very random selection of Premier League players. You had Alexis Sanchez, obviously Azpilicueta, Adnan Januzaj.
That's rogue. That's so rogue to put those first two and then Adnan Januzaj. That's a weird combo. That is odd.
And then you had the backup goalkeeper for Villa, Eric Nyland, who I believe, I believe he was the guy who was
turned it into his own net. Was that the?
Was that him? There was a backup who played for Villa against City on a final day when they had that amazing comeback, which I like to forget about. There was I think it was him who was in goal, or was it Robin Olsen? But Nyland is such a rogue player. I haven't
heard his name in years. I haven't heard his name in a long time.
No, same. And I can't remember what era he was in at Villa, whether he was that keeper who was in goal for them against City. But there was more. I thought I'd seen Ruben Vargas and Benjamin Mendy. Turns out it was different B Mendy and a different Vargas, but. Yeah, really random selection of Premier League players for Seville. Really random.
Fair play.
We'll move on to the midfield. Now, I've gone for a 4-4-2 diamond because I just believe there's been so many amazing central midfielders, but I don't think many great wingers at Chelsea. There's a couple that spring to mind, but I kind of feel like some of these clubs' best players are in centre mid, and also we'll get into those in a minute. And is that how you felt? Did you feel? Because I know you got likes of Robben, Duff, and all that, but I kind of feel like
the only one from a Chelsea point of view that I think, as a wide player, I think needs to be in a conversation would be Hazard.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the only one. But I think in terms of having a debate, I think that a foreign midfield as a diamond would cause more interest because I think we'll probably agree that Lampard will go in this team, but then where'd you put him?
Yeah,
and all those things that come with it. So I think there is more debate in that than there is anything else. But I think that maybe you could have thrown Hazard in there. You could have thrown someone like Riyad Mahrez potentially,
Mahrez.
on the wing. But then it's a. I think when you look at the longevity of it, I think that maybe Hazard is the only winger that you could say did it for a long, long time. I think in centre midfield, you had players that literally made that midfield their own. So I think it makes a lot of sense to go for the diamond in midfield. Yeah.
Yeah, Mahrez, like I forgot about how good he was. I think Robin, I don't really
We
think.
only got a couple of years of
Yeah,
him.
that's the
Everyone seems
thing.
to forget. We only got a couple of years of Robin. So he was my favourite Chelsea player growing up because I thought he was electric and so exciting. But we did only get two and a half, maybe it was 3 years out of him.
Yeah,
It's not enough to go in this team, with all
no,
due respect to Robin. With
no.
all due respect.
I think his best years cut at Bayern. I think we saw.
And
I think
Madrid as
Robin.
well. Real Madrid is
Yeah,
where it
yeah,
started to turn, But
yeah.
yeah,
But no, I think like fair. We could do 4-3-3 later on. We could change it, but I think we have to get Lampard and De Bruyne in. I think Lampard and De Bruyne just have to be in this team. And obviously you come back lyrical about Lampard in a minute, and De Bruyne's actually played for both teams, albeit didn't do much.
As Lampard did as well when
Oh
he went
yeah,
on
of
loan.
course,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Scored against you boys, didn't he as well?
Yeah, I hated that game. Hated it.
I can imagine.
And the worst thing is, the second he came on, you knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. It was
Yeah,
awful.
it was amazing. I loved that moment. But
no, of course you did.
yeah, but no, Lampard and De Bruyne. Yeah, Lampard. I mean, you obviously watched him for years. I had a view on the other end of the spectrum. A lot of FA Cup, Champions League games in big moments. But I think many would argue Chelsea's best player of all time, Frank Lampard.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll have different arguments and different conversations for, what you like individually. But I think Lampard is the only consistent as to, who goes. If you were building a Chelsea all-time 11, I think he's one of the first 5 names on the team sheet. I think that he has to go in. And I think that, again, that reputation just precedes him. I think that he's top tier. And I think, in terms of goal scoring, in terms of assists, in terms of tackles, in terms of range of passing, professionalism, energy, I just think he had it all. And I think that, as I think with obviously you being a Liverpool fan, I think with Gerrard, a lot of his game was about power and was about aggression, and it was about taking the game by the scruff of the neck. And I think that you'll probably be one of the people that will agree, coming towards the end of that time for Gerrard, there was a drop off. Where with Lampard, when he left Chelsea in the end of that 2013-14 season, I still thought he had more in the tank. And I think that was, it's not the same level as what Gerrard would have done. He wouldn't have been as aggressive, but his game changed and he switched, and you could just see that he was a little bit more almost like possession based, and he would still of course pop up and get goals. Even right to the end he was getting goals for Chelsea, and obviously Man City of course against us. But I think that the levels that come with it, the professionalism, you hear anyone talking about professionals in sport, especially anyone that's worked in and around Chelsea, they will tell you about the levels of Frank Lampard. And whether that be Jose, whether that be Drogba, Ancelotti, big managers and big football people in years gone by, they've all sung his praises. And I just think it's a massive testament to him. He's done it all for us, captained us in a Champions League final, which we won. For me, he was just absolutely excellent. And I think for me, I love a goal scorer midfielder, so definitely got to have him in. As same thing with De Bruyne as well. I mean, the goals from midfield, just excellent.
Yeah, I mean, these two, I think, I think these are two very clear choices. I mean, De Bruyne, I remember the time and time again, you see him sort of start to make his mark on a game, and you just think, oh boy, we're in trouble. I mean, going back to that Villa game, I mean, the performance he had in that game was just unbelievable. And I remember there was a game against, they won like something like 8-1 against Watford or Stoke. And he had like something like, he had so many assists. I remember FPL. I had him FPL that year, and that game, and it was just like insane, kind of. And yeah, just I think De Bruyne. I think you could make an argument he is the best playmaker in Premier League history. I think for a guy who's gonna Get like
Yeah.
anyone in history to get you an assist in a game. I think Beckham's an outside shout, but I think if you want one player in history of the Premier League to get you an assist in a 85th minute game or 90th minute, it's him. I don't think there's anyone else you could really argue that I can think of that I'd want more than De Bruyne to set me up
There,
a goal.
there might be one person who if it was my team, I'd be putting him in attacking midfield. But there might be one person, but again, not many at all. Again, I think for De Bruyne, with the levels that he has and the professionalism again that he has got, and the journey that he went on as well. You know, the journey that he went on obviously didn't work out at Chelsea. Then went back to went to Germany and tried to get it all sort of figured out. And then he came back that second wind. I have to remind me, was it Wolfsburg or Werder Bremen? I think it was Wolfsburg they signed him from. I think I always get the two confused. I think it's Wolfsburg.
I want to say it was it Werder Bremen? I mean, so if
I can't remember. I always get the two confused. But the journey that he had to go back to Germany and then start to sort of really progress through. So back to Germany, go to Germany, to then start to progress through. It was a very different way, and it was almost similar with Salah, where he obviously didn't work out at Chelsea, then went elsewhere and came back. You know, that's important, but it means that you pick things up from different places as well, and that's something that's really, really impressive. But one of the big testaments as well for me anyway about Kevin De Bruyne was the Champions League final in which City lost. He was having a very, very decent game, and he was becoming more and more problematic in the centre of the park. And I can't remember if you remember this, but Kante had the goggles, like the mask thing on, because I think he'd broken his nose, like carbon fibre, whatever it is, on. And I think there was a moment in the game where there was some collision where they just came together and it gave De Bruyne a black eye, and it meant that he couldn't carry on. And the amount of relief that Chelsea fans felt when you saw him going off the pitch, because you were just like, look, if anyone's going to change this game out of nothing, it's him. It's 100% going to be him. And when you knew that was off the pitch, that shows the levels of him, because again, it's that reputation that comes with it. He didn't need to do anything, but you were so scared of the fact that he could. Excellent footballer. Excellent footballer.
Unbelievable. And to answer your question, it was actually both. So he went from Chelsea on loan to Werder Bremen and then went to Wolfsburg permanently the following season. Or no, maybe he went on loan. He went from Genk to Chelsea and straight to Werder Bremen on loan. Then had a year at Chelsea when he had played as a false nine against Man U in a 0-0, and then Wolfsburg the following year. And after just a year, went to Man City. So yeah. Again, like Salah went on loan to Fiorentina and then went to Roma, and then later went to Liverpool. So quite similar trajectories, similar times in football history. So yeah, we've got these two in, and I kind of feel like I'd probably have De Bruyne on the right side and Lampard on the left, or you could put him as an attacking mid. And then that leaves.
I think I'd leave the attacking mid spot if it was me, but
because I was thinking I'd have. My next guy I'm thinking of is the left-sided midfielder or centre mid, and then have Lampard just off my front two.
Okay, go for it. Let's see what you're going for.
David Silva, I want to put in.
Okay, so for me, he would have been the number 10.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. That's where I was going. I think he needs to be in there, and as I was just saying before, with the assists as well, De Bruyne would get it and sort of force it through and find a way and whatever. But David Silva just had a way of just finding a little, just a little 2 or 3 yards, just split a line and leave someone one-on-one with a goalkeeper, or with just half a chance to shoot. That's the sort of thing that I really, really liked. So I would still go that De Bruyne is the most likely person to find you an assist. But David Silva, I think for me, I think he's the best. He was at one point, maybe not now, but he was the best foreign export that the Premier League had ever seen in terms of technical ability. There was people that had bigger impacts. I'm not going to deny that. Thierry Henry will be a massive advocate for that. But I think technically, David Silva was so good. So good.
He was unreal. And I think a lot of his ex-teammates always talk about him. I've never seen any ex-players, whether it's Joe Hart, whether it's Michael Richards, anyone who's played with him, and they talk about the best players they played with, they always say David Silva because he was just that good, and he never really bulked up. We talk about right now like some players like Florian Wirtz to bulk up. Silva never did that, but he was still so good. And my memory of him most, since of how good of a pass he was and finding someone out of nothing, was the game against Man U, the 6-1. I believe it was the Edin Dzeko final goal.
Yeah, I remember this. I do remember this. Yeah,
one little touch, smack, bang into
Bang.
Dzeko, and just so some of the passes he could find were just unbelievable. We're probably forgetting Paul Scholes, probably someone you probably want as well for an assist. But David Silva was unbelievable. And yeah, I think maybe a little bit underrated by some people. I don't think many enough talk about him. You could argue better footballer than De Bruyne. Obviously, De Bruyne's got as a output, the assists and all that. But I think as a technical player, as like a pure technique and like natural footballing ability, I think Silva could be up there. I genuinely think he could rival De Bruyne or even top it. So I think he has to go in this team, and then that leaves like you could go 4-3-3 and have one of our strikers out wide, but I think personally you lose the impact of them out wide. So I think we may. Could you put?
I think for me, if it was sorry to interrupt you, Andy, but I think for me, I think you have to have a defensive-minded midfielder.
Yeah,
because the names that are from a Chelsea point of view, and the one that I can think of from a Man City point of view that I think definitely needs to be in with the conversation. I think you've got to have that. I think you have to have that talk more than you may need to have wide players in that conversation. So I think I would stick with a diamond if I was you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good with that. I mean, that keeps my my pick I had at that spot available. And I think we all saw, you saw more than me because I do. Obviously, I'm not English, but Lampard and Gerrard didn't have that holding midfielder behind them. And I think if he sacrificed one of them two goals, and had, or even fast forward 2006 after Scholes retired, they needed someone like a Carrick.
Yes, Carrick was so obviously the answer as well, which was so annoying.
So I kind of feel like you have to have someone there for that reason as well, because I don't think you could have De Bruyne, Silva, and Lampard and not have someone who's gonna, win the ball back, stop the press players and win the ball back. I kind of feel like you need someone like that, and I have my guy. I want to let you go first because I'm intrigued who you're going to go for, but I have one person in my head that I feel like, for the impact and what he's done, has to be in this. But I'm
okay. So don't tell me who the player is, but I'm assuming that he's from my team.
He's not. He's not now.
Oh, fine. Okay, good. Because I think we're in a similar vibe. Good. Okay, fine. So from my team, I'll put forward either, take your pick, Makelele or Kante.
Yeah, Kante, Makelele were the guys I thought of. I mean, we're forgetting Cesc Fabregas, of course, but I don't think he's there long enough. But as a holding mid, I think it's these three players. And I think, Makelele, position named after him, N'Golo Kante, I think.
Reinvented that position, I would probably say,
Leicester as well, one player of the year with Chelsea as well, PFA player of the year. But I just think what these guys don't have, I think my guy has, is goals in important games as well. I think for me, Rodri, you think about the Champions League final, you think about the Villa. I think he scored in that Villa game as well as Gundogan. I just think that Ballon d'Or winner, of course, I think Ballon d'Or's lost its stuff a little bit, but a Ballon d'Or winner in an area where, defensive mids, aren't a glamorous position. But I think even taking away Ballon d'Or, I just think for his impact with not just winning the ball back, giving the team back possession, defensiveness, I think going forward, being able to contribute as well with goals in important games. That's my argument for Rodri. I'm not going to say here, if I hear Kante's name as a final choice, I'm not going to be annoyed. Same as Makelele. But Rodri just because of that.
I'm going to be biased, of course, and I'm going to try and get a Chelsea name in here. But that's not where I thought you were going.
Is it Yaya Toure?
Yaya Toure, for me, I thought was excellent. And I think maybe he's too similar to other players that we've got. I find him sort of similar to Lampard, where he'll drift from deep and then score. Oh, that's close. That is close in that debate. I mean, I'll go and throw Kante in because I mean, literally, Manchester City tweeted, "We will have half a chance if we can get round N'Golo Kante in a Champions League final." Even off that one-off game, I think that says so much. But I will go Kante. I think it's like 70% of the world is covered by water and the rest is covered by N'Golo Kante. Literally, like he, as a footballer, as a person, I won't say a brand because he wasn't a brand, but like an image of just working hard, doing what you need to do, not getting the plaudits. Did pop up with the odd goal here or there, weirdly enough, although he wasn't known for it. I think I think that would be the way to go, is to go for N'Golo Kante here. But again, if you said Makaleli, Yaya Toure, maybe Rodri, give it a couple of years, and I think we'll all sort of realise just how much City miss him when he's not there, and I think that will sort of help his sort of stock a little bit. But I think, for me, I think when it comes to centre midfielders of the Premier League, I just think that Lampard was absolutely excellent in that 2004-5 team because Makelele was behind him, clearing everything up if he ever got it wrong. You then start thinking about, Eden Hazard was so good in that 2016-17 team because behind him was N'Golo Kante clearing everything up. Next to the pair of them had great partnerships as well. Nemanja Matic was a fantastic footballer. He was a very good footballer. That Kante played with a lot. Fabregas, obviously, we mentioned as well, didn't get necessarily the length of time that we'd like to out of him. For me, I think I would go Kante, but like everyone in this team, you put someone slightly different in there, doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just different, and that's what I really, really like.
Yeah, it's so tough. I mean, we even talking about people like Gianluca Vialli and also players like that, and Gianfranco Zola, Dennis Wise, all these.
Zola very easily could have gone in that number 10 spot, 100%. But
yeah,
again, I think David Silva did more.
Yeah, this is tough. I think we're going to go for the same two as striker. I think that's not going to be a hard decision, especially previewing an FA Cup final with one of these players we're going to mention. But I think this is the hardest one yet. I mean, I did Fernandinho also.
Good footballer.
Yeah, I don't think he's quite on the same level. He was good in that Centurion season. He's unbelievable. I think
did it for a long time as well, Fernandinho.
Yeah, and was captain as well. I mean, Ilkay Gundogan, Mr.
Yeah, again another solid shout.
But again, I don't think he would have been outdoing Lampard, Silva, and De Bruyne.
No. Another person even thrown here as well would be James Milner for being just a genuinely really, really solid head as well. Again, I don't think he makes it in this team, but if you had him on a list of 5, you can go, I don't think he's out of place, really. I mean, again, he was, really, really top quality. It says a lot, but I think, for me, I think it's, with the respect that he has around world football, I think you have to go for Kante here. And I think that the one who is most hard done by in this conversation, because of him, because of Kante going in, the honourable mention I think has to be Yaya Toure, just because the way that he picked a ball up and just drove and drove and drove. He was absolutely brilliant, and he would score goals. He would literally drag the team up as well. That would be the sort of player that I would want in my team, if I didn't already have Lampard and De Bruyne. So he's just, unfortunately for him, that is the way that the cookie crumbles with him, I think.
Yeah, because I do think as well that he had, what's that going to be, like 4 years at City when he's like in his prime at City, whereas
I'm trying to cast my mind back now. He was there when they won it in 2012, and he was definitely there when they won it again, which would have been about 2018, was it?
Yeah, I think he joined either 2009. He scored also the FA Cup final against Stoke.
Yeah, I was there that day.
Were you? Oh,
I was. Yeah, random ticket that I got from the FA. Me and my dad sat bang on the halfway line with the Stoke fans. It was really good.
That's amazing. So like he was there from 2010, 2009. He actually was there longer than I thought. Actually, but
I think it was about 7 or 8 years. I think he was there.
I thought he's there less. I don't know why. But yeah, I just think that Lampard, De Bruyne, by certainly them two did way more. I think did more than Torre did. And also, they're easier to buy a birthday cake for than Yaya Toure. So
that's very true. Well known.
you know what? I think you convinced me. I'm going to go Kante. I think you add in. I know it's not Leicester thing here, but I think what he did at Leicester as well the season before, and kind of for the balance of the team, probably is him a bit more. But Rodri, I thought Rodri was so good. Rodri was unbelievable, especially before his injury he had against was it against Arsenal? But before that injury he got. Last season, I think he didn't lose a game for like 2 years or something, or even maybe even more than that. Had a tough first year, but after that, he was just phenomenal.
And that Champions League final winner as well, so well hit. I can't remember if it got deflected or not, but it looked like it moved like an arrow. Like you have to hit that well for it to move like that. It was excellent. He's such a good footballer, and I think that again, maybe down the line when you sort of are slightly more removed from seeing him regularly in a Man City shirt, maybe we can all sort of maybe appreciate it a little bit more. Maybe we don't realise what we got when it's in front of us, but he's won a Ballon d'Or. You know, like fair play.
Absolutely. Well, let's go on to the front two, and is this just an easy to choose from? I personally think, I mean, there's been many great strikers there, but I just feel there is a very clear two to have in this team.
Well, I think for maybe for fairness, maybe you go one centre forward from each team.
That's what I'm thinking of anyway.
Let's make this nice and easy, because I've only got one that I'm throwing up there for me, which is of course the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. FA Cup final himself, who I'd love to be playing on Saturday, although he's not. It's Didier Drogba. But then you've got a real tough choice of, do you go for the guy who did it for Man City for 10 years, or do you go for the new phenomenon who is breaking records like it's unbelievable?
I personally go the way of Aguero. Now, I've got Drogba and Aguero. I think for Drogba personally, the fact we're doing an FA Cup final kind of themed episode, and he is the FA Cup final,
Mr. FA Cup final.
Yeah,
yes.
he's got to be in. My favourite striker to ever watch, who wasn't named Bobby Firmino or anyone called Torres. I used to love watching him play.
Good footballer Torres was for you.
Yeah, I mean he's not going on this list. All-time Chelsea, no chance. But yeah, Torres.
To be fair, some of the other strikers we've had after him, he probably is quite high up on the Chelsea list. But I mean, he's definitely not going in this team.
No,
I think Drogba is the right call again, especially FA Cup finals with the big goals, and I think that you see a lot of people give accounts about playing against Drogba. And that's what people, are constantly remembering. It was like, I can't remember who it was now. It frustrated me the hell out of me. It might have been Vidic, where he said, if you go up against Drogba, you go tough, he'll go soft. You go soft, he'll go tough. And he just made it a nightmare to constantly play against him. I think it was either Vidic or Ferdinand. I want to say it was one of the Man United guys. But again, I think he was such a handful to play against and scored not just goals, really, really good goals as well. You go back and watch the clips. There's not many just tap-ins from 5 or 6 yards out. And with respect, and it is with respect to Haaland, you look at the goal machine that he is, there's a lot of goals that he is picking up inside the box, being in the right place, right time, taking penalties. Again, it's still respect. He is absolutely incredible. But I think that Drogba's goals were all finishes, whether it be with his head, whether it be with his feet, whatever. He could put the ball in the back of the net, and he made sure you looked silly when he did. That's the top mark of a proper centre forward. Going to the other two, different footballers altogether. So I'm actually quite interested to have this sort of little debate, because Aguero, I think, better footballer. But you can't argue that Haaland is 10 times more effective, because he literally is doing it and is still doing it to this day. I think when you look back at their careers at City, you know which one you'd probably pick. But for the moments, for the class, for the length of time that he did it, I think I'm like you and leaning towards Aguero.
Yeah, I mean, going back to Drogba, I remember there was a goal against Everton. The same game actually.
Turn and banged it. Yeah. Oh, what a
amazing goal! And even Lampard, the same game, scored a wonder goal just before that. But
I'm
that
pretty
goal,
sure Ballack also scored a free kick in that game that everyone completely forgets about
I
as
forgot.
well.
I
Like,
remember.
as 3 goals to come from behind, they were unbelievable. We had no right to do it, but different
Unreal. Yeah, I
matter.
remember. I remember Joseph Yobo scoring. But I don't remember Michael Ballack scoring, if I'm honest. But
Mm.
you think about as well, there was a free kick against. It might have been against Bolton or something like. I think it was a game where they just sacked Andy Gray and not Martin Tyler, Richard Keys, and it was like a different.
Yes.
I remember that there was that game, and this I know it's not Premier League. It's not even a competitive game. There was a pre-season friendly against Milan, and I think it was at the Baltimore Ravens Stadium. Drogba
Yeah,
scores this
yes, I vaguely remember this.
unreal
Yes.
goal. It's one of the best I've ever seen. Just a shame that it was in it was in a friendly. But if anyone is listening to this podcast and they want to look at an amazing goal, look at Drogba Milan pre-season. It'll come up. There's an amazing montage with Darude Sandstorm. It's an amazing goal. Check it out if you haven't already.
That is so American pre-season tour. Yeah, let's just whack on Sandstorm. They'll love it.
Oh, it's amazing. But there's so many moments. There's the constant goals against Arsenal, the constant commenting of them, and going off Premier League, Champions League finals. Well, I mean, to get not just the equaliser, 89th minute, whatever it is, and then to get the winning penalty in what was at the time we thought his final ever kick for the club.
Yeah.
Comes back 2 years later, wins another Premier League, scores an equaliser against Man U at Old Trafford.
Yes.
I mean, there's so many moments that he is just like, people go on with his goals, but he scored enough. And there's not a single player, I don't think, in Premier League history, certainly up front, that you won in a big game. There's not a single player, Suarez, Haaland, Rooney, Henry maybe, but Drogba in finals, way more goals than Henry. And I think if I want a final, if I'm doing an FA Cup final, we're doing like an all-time player draft. My first pick is Drogba because most big games he played for, he turned up and scored. And Drogba for me.
It's not all FA Cup, I'm sure, because I definitely remember a couple of goals in League Cup finals as well. But I'm pretty sure at one point it was something like he scored 16 goals at Wembley in 16 appearances or something stupid like that. Like the numbers were ridiculous, like in terms of the levels. But even in things like FA Cup semi-finals, another goal to add into that mix if you are bored and looking for something to do. Look at Drogba versus Tottenham in 2012. Ledley King, a good defender as well. Not necessarily with the legs as much as he used to, but again, like physically battling. Drogba turns him in one and just hits it with his weak foot into the top corner past Carlo Cudicini. Good goalkeeper, good defender, and Drogba in about 2.5 seconds pinned Ledley King and made the pair of them look absolutely ridiculous. He is a top quality striker. And for me, I think he's one of the best, probably 3 or 4 of all time. And I know people may disagree with that. I understand as for why, but you want your strikers in big moments. And there was no one bigger than Didier Drogba for a moment like that. Not at all. Even Aguero, to be fair to him, again, that moment, that one big moment, I would prefer to have the 15 that Drogba had than that one big moment. And again, I'm not a Man City fan, so of course I'll be biased with it. But again, you want to see it consistently. Drogba did it, and even when he probably shouldn't have done it, excellent, just absolutely excellent.
Yeah, I think he's a shoo-in, and I think Aguero for me is also my pick. I just think, I think I think they've both won trophies. They've both, scored a lot of goals. Right now, Aguero more. I think Haaland might overtake that at the end of his career. But I just think, as a player, technically, I think he's better. Haaland is good. I think that he's kind of changing the game a little bit now. He's coming more of a team player. He's getting more involved in the build-up play. But I just think Aguero was just different level. And there's kind of movie did a lot, and I forget what the terminology is for this kind of movie did, where he'll sort of, in a real tight space, just completely change direction. And I know there was a goal against Man U, I think the year after his goal, where he just his balance was amazing. His balance was incredible. And sometimes you think about him just the way he managed to stay on his feet and just sometimes score the goals he did. For me, Aguero, I think it's closer than people think, but I think Aguero for me is my choice to go in. But that is our team done. We've got our team. So starting from top to bottom, in goal is Petr Cech. Our back four is Kyle Walker, Vincent Kompany, John Terry, and Ashley Cole. Our midfield in a 4-4-2 diamond is Kante, sadly not Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne, David Silva, and Frank Lampard. And then up front, we've gone for Didier Drogba and Aguero. And I should say as well, we never actually worked out who was going 10, who was going left centre mid out of Silva and Lampard. Maybe we have Lampard. Yeah,
I'll go Lampard because towards the end he did drop back a little bit.
Yeah,
I'll go Lampard there. We'll give David Silva the room to roam. We'll give him the room to roam.
I like that. Yeah, and there we go. That is it. That's the end of our first ever episode on starting lineup. So first of all, Ian, Craigo28, great to have you on today.
Pleasure, mate. Thank you for having me. It's good to be back making the content. So I'm glad that you were the first person I've collaborated with, Andy. It's been a long time coming.
Absolutely. I think I was in an Airbnb in Buffalo when we last spoke on
that does sound about right.
Yeah.
That was a weird time difference. I remember. Yeah.
Because I think it was like something like maybe 6-7 in the morning.
6 hours. I thought it was.
Yeah, it was crazy. Well, actually, I forgot to mention before we do go, it'd be remiss for me not to mention the game on Saturday, Chelsea against Man City, 3 p.m. kickoff in the UK at Wembley Stadium. Chelsea looking to avenge, City looking to avenge a streak of 2 straight FA Cup final losses, and Chelsea looking to avenge a long streak of FA Cup final losses as well, going back to Leicester, Liverpool, many others before that. So Chelsea aren't in a good place. They've got an interim manager who no one's ever heard of, really, as in charge after the sacking of Liam Messina. City, they dropped points against Everton, but they managed to get back to winning ways against Brentford. How are you feeling? Because it must be a tough time right now with what's going on behind the scenes, all the contracts given to players. How are you feeling about the game on Saturday? Can you win?
Yeah, it's a weird one, I think, for Saturday, because let's be honest, we've got nothing to lose. We've got absolutely nothing to lose. We're not expected to go and beat Man City. Callum McFarlane is not expected to go and do anything against Pep. We do forget that the last time that Pep and Callum McFarlane played against each other, we snatched and grabbed a 1-1 draw at the Etihad, which was brilliant. I meant to be at that game, but I got tonsillitis. So I think that I think again, like, we go into this game as Chelsea. Before, there would have been part of me, and I know this sounds really awkward, there's been part of me before that would be like, look, if we go and win this game, we're going to paper over the cracks, because we all know that things are wrong at the club. A couple of years last year, when we got to the Conference League final, that was a Chelsea are expected to win that. That is the standard of the football club, and we won it, and we carry on through. Fast forward down onto the Club World Cup, that's papering over the cracks of thinking that we're all brilliant. With the revelations that have happened in the last 2 or 3 months at Chelsea, and people obviously head starting to roll with the ownership coming out and saying that they want a new manager in before the World Cup so they can watch the World Cup and see what's going on and all those things. I think now, if Chelsea go and win this game, it's not papering over the cracks. It's just a real nice result. And it is a very unexpected result as well, if it ever does come through. I've got to be honest, I'm doing a preview, my preview tomorrow, and I am going to have that it will be a Man City win for this. I do think that it will be. But I think that, I'm going to the game on the weekend. So, it's going to be very, very weird in terms of an atmosphere, because I think a lot of Chelsea fans are very fed up with what's going on at the club. But then this is an FA Cup final. You get up for this occasion and you go and win it. Chelsea are the 3rd most successful team in the competition, I think, just ahead of Man City now. I can't remember the exact numbers, but that's the sort of thing. That is our reputation. That is our history as a club. We've not got a lot of it because people know that before the money came in, we were all naff and horrible. But we've got great memories from the 70s of when we beat Leeds, and we've got great memories from the 90s of when we finally got over the line and won, an FA Cup again and whatever. Like, it means a lot to us. It really does. And I hope that comes through, and I want the fans to just be as passionate as they possibly can. City are a little bit complacent when it comes to Wembley because they are there so often. But we've also seen other things that have come up at Wembley where City have gone and whacked a few goals past a team very, very quickly, and the game has been done and dusted. I remember that one, I can't remember what year it was, when Gundogan scored in about 30 odd seconds or something ridiculous, you know. But I think the most important thing for Chelsea is go into that game with giving yourself every chance to win. They did that in the league fixture where we were 0-0 at half time, and it was just fell apart for 15, 20 minutes, whatever it was, and we lost 3-0. Everyone in a betting sense should be piling it heavily on Man City, which is what I'm assuming they're going to do, and they're probably going to go for correct score lines because, again, I think they're so certain that Man City are going to win this. But it's not over until the fat lady sings. You just got to absolutely go for it. It's a free hit for me anyway as a Chelsea fan, and I think for a lot of Chelsea fans they'll be in that similar sort of boat. Look, if we can get out of it, we get a great day to end off this absolutely terrible season, then absolutely fantastic. But the big factor for these Chelsea players is we need to qualify for Europe. And if we win that FA Cup, we are guaranteed Europa League football. And with the way that we've been playing in the league, you've got to go and make sure you get that. I think that's what's going to be the extra motivation. And I think Chelsea are going to go and dig deep and absolutely go for it. But I don't think it'll be enough. I don't. And that's a real, real shame. But I just also have that argument that City have got to keep up momentum to stop Arsenal from winning the league, but then that looks like it's all dead and buried now. It's a frustrating one, but I think Chelsea have got more to gain than Man City have to lose in this from where I am. So I think it's if you can get up for the game, you can go for it, get behind your team, then absolutely brilliant. But if it doesn't pan out, I didn't really expect a lot else.
That's fair, and I think City win as well. And I do think there'll be a point in the game because I think we've seen City recently think about going a goal down to Southampton in the semi-final, lapse of concentration for Gahey against Everton. City recently have had a little bit of, it took until second half to score on the weekend as well. So I think there'll be a point whether it's taking the lead or equalising. I think Chelsea will score in this game. I can just picture Enzo Fernandez.
The boy.
I love. He's been amazing on FPL.
Yeah,
I love Fernandez, but I think there'll be a point where Chelsea will get some sort of momentum, whether it's getting the first goal, whether it's equalising early in the second half. I just think I don't see Chelsea not scoring. I just think there's been a few problems recently defensively from Man City, but I think ultimately I can see it being 1-1 until like the 70th minute, almost a bit like the Arsenal game. Go 1-0 up and then it's out 1-1 for a while, it's lingering, and then you kind of get a goal. And I can see Haaland getting a winner for a similar kind of goal that what he got against Arsenal. That sort of tight space, sort of not a pretty goal, but being effective and efficient. So I do think they win it 2-1. But I do think as well the fact that you've got a longer period of rest, and they got to play a Palace on Wednesday night.
Yeah,
3 or 4 days extra rest. City, are the players going to be, because these days FA Cup isn't that important to the non-English players. Like you think about, I don't think Haaland, maybe him because he was born in Manchester, but I don't think many players grew up wanting to win a FA Cup. Whereas I think a lot of players who are now starting to be in their mid-20s and that generation, I think they care more about the Premier League. And I just think with that game on Wednesday, I think I think that game will be on their minds and that kind of title race. So I don't know. I think there's always a chance Chelsea could easily capitalise, and they did. Of course, City lost to Palace last year, so there's always a chance. There's always a chance, but I just think, can I see him losing 3 FA Cup finals in a row with Pep? No, I think ultimately he'll get the job done. But there we are. That is the end of Starting Lineups, episode 1 of Series 1. Thank you all who have listened or watched this episode. I have been your host, Andy Davies, and with me today has been Chelsea fan Craigo28. And we'll see you guys for our next episode. Take care.